Yo, it's game over. No more debates. Alliance salute. Champion in action, brethren. Alliance salute. Wagwan family. Let's get it. Sinai is not in Jerusalem. Sinai is not in motherfucking Peru. Let me tell you where the fucking Bible events happen. The Bible events happen in Arabia. That's where they happened. It's been a triple bluff on black people. They got you looking halfway across the fucking world. They got you looking in Palestine. That's a Jewish myth. And I don't understand you cashews, you Hebrew nuts that say that they are the false Jews. We know that they're the false Jews and we are the real Jews and Hebrews. But why are you taking into account this false business of Egyptians? Let me show you something, and it's gonna break your hearts. There was no motherfucking slavery in Egypt, because Mizraim was an Arabic word. You wanna carry on playing with me? Let's get right into it. Horace Butler, I'm sorry, brother. Your lies are over. Your lies are over. Yenge, Machiamo, Shalom. And Shalom is our language. Let's get into it, Aki. Let's get into it, brothers and sisters. I'm not even going to tell you what book this is. But I'm finishing all doctrines. Because when you understand the Hebrew culture, you're talking about a Cushite, Arabian, African culture that was spread. What the Ashkenazi Jews did is supplant that culture. And the Greek Septuagint is a motherfucking hoax. That's why you lot are still, that's why you lot can't find no Egyptian slavery in Kome. You're never gonna find it. Let's get into this. Peru's Jerusalem. Talking about Moses in fucking Guyana. Listen, Horace Butler. Your information when it comes to West African and Moorish information is very good. I can't even lie. It's good. But when you're talking about the Exodus comes from Guyana, Peru is Jerusalem. Bullshit. Let me show you. Listen, if that was the case, why the hell did the Israeli Jews have Operation Moses and airlift Ethiopians to Israel and airlift Yemenite Jews to Israel? Because they're the real motherfucking, they've always been a black people. But what they did is they tried to bring them into Israel to re-indoctrinate them and take away their fucking history. The Jews and Hebrews have always been black. And it's a Cushite story. So you anti-African Hebrews talking about, oh, this business about Ham and Cam, you falling under the spell of the Hamitic hypothesis. Anyway, let me get into this, man. You understand? Introduction. Let me not beat about the bush. I believe I have made a remarkable discovery which should be made possible, a radical reinterpretation of the Hebrew Bible, or what most people refer to as the Old Testament. It is quite simply that the Bible came from West Arabia. 2,000 years of lies finished, and not from Palestine. What happened is it was relocated there. I'm going to show you Wagwan. As generations of scholars have supposed, the evidence for this startling departure from a time-honored geographical assumption is presented in the chapters that follow. My case resting mainly on a linguistic analysis of biblical place names, which I believe have until now been consistently mistranslated. That's what happened, man. This procedure, known technically as onomastic, or perhaps more accurately, toponymic analysis, we're going to take our time, don't worry, man. Walk with me. Is the basis upon my argument is built, and I freely acknowledge that my discovery remained theoretical and firm confirmed by archaeological investigation, which has been done. And let me show you something real quick. Scriptures, boom, chapter 16, Exodus. And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day, on the 2nd month after the departure of the land of Egypt. Oh, let me just skip up to 27. And they came to Elim, where were 12 wells of water, and 70 palm trees, and they encamped there by the waters. Let me tell you something, that's not in motherfucking Brazil. That's not in Palestine. I found Elim. Elim is in motherfucking Saudi Arabia. Go research it. It's there. You will see it right in your face. The geography of the Bible from a Western interpretation has been wrong. It's always been in Arabia. No kome. So that slavery's gone out the window. You can't even Guyana, Brazil, Peru. I don't think so, man. It's Arabia. Go on YouTube and find out and type in Elim, Saudi Arabia Bible, and you'll see it is in a place called I think it's Tabuk. And you'll see the wells of water, and you'll see the palm trees. That's game over. That's game over for the for the Palestinians, the Palestinian Jewish myth, and for the Peru's Jerusalem myth. That's game over right there. That's only one. I've got so much, it's ridiculous. Off the top of my head, they so-called crossed the Red Sea and went into the land of Midian, where Jethro saw the Israelites, right? And they went to land Horeb, and then they went to Mount Sinai. So if they crossed the Red Sea and went into Mount Sinai, how the fuck is the Sinai in the flipping Egyptian peninsula? It's always been in Arabia. So-called Yahweh is an Arabian volcano god, which got transposed to other gods. More scriptures again. I'm gonna cut and cut and cut and cut and cut non-stop. This is part 1. Tired of this shit, man. Horace Butler, stop lying to the people, man. You goddamn liar. How dare you? Wheel again. Let's go to Deuteronomy 33. Shall we? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And he said, the Lord came from Sinai and rose up from Seir unto them, and he shined forth from the Mount Paran. Paran is in motherfucking Arabia. Mecca. If I'm wrong, why is there a Jewish flipping rabbi making a book called Return to Mecca, and he's a Jew? Because the real land of Israel is Northeast Africa and Arabia. It's never been no motherfucking Peru and Palestine. What happened is Canaanites from Arabia, from persecution, migrated up there and took their names and called those places after their original name. That's why you got the daughter of Jerusalem, the daughter of Zion. The daughter just meant those words dispersed. The original Zion is in Arabia. Sion. Don't believe me? Alright, let's go. Let's continue. Page 7. The present study owes its origins to pure chance. I had been presented with a copy of Gazeta of Saudi Arabia. Let's see what we're doing for time, man. Let's see what we're doing. Published in Arida in 1977, and was examining, hear that? Examining for place names of non-Arabic origins in West Arabia, when gradually it dawned on me that I was looking at not just place names in West Arabia, but also those of the biblical Old Testament, or what I prefer to call the Hebrew Bible. At first I thought I must be mistaken, but the evidence accumulated, I persuaded that I had stumbled upon a remarkable set of coincidences. Ain't no coincidence. Nearly all biblical rascal place names I could think of were concentrated in an area approximately 600 kilometers along and 200 kilometers wide, comprising what are today Assyria, sound like Israel, R is interchangeable with L, Arabic, and the southern parts of the Hijaz. All the coordinates of the place involved, described in the Hebrew Bible, were also traceable there, a fact of first importance as those coordinates have never really been identified in the countries. I could not find such a concentration of biblical place names near in the original Hebrew form in any other place of the Near East. I was obliged to consider that the breathtaking possibility that Judaism had originated not in Palestine but in West Arabia, and that the history of the ancient Israelites as narrated in the Hebrew Bible ran its full course there and nowhere else. Do you understand why they had to use Egypt? Because we have such a fabulous history. If it was a story about Arabian tribal traditions, no one would care. But that's exactly what the Israelite story is. It's an Arabian a Cushite Arabian tribal tradition that spread. That's all it is. There weren't no pharaohs in Egypt. That's a Greek word. Yo, let's go again. Let's go into some language. Key to Hebrew and Arabic transliteration. No, biblical Hebrew has a form, consonant or alphabet or 22 letters, including the semi-vowels. Considering that one consonant is taken to stand either for the pronounced as English or S, no one knows how biblical Hebrew was vocalized, its traditional vowelling being probably based on Aramaic. Even the original phonetic value or variant values or some of the Hebrew consonants include the two semi-vowels is uncertain. Classical Arabic has a formal consonantal alphabet of 28 letters, which also features the two semi-vowels. In addition, there is the silent Arabic T as distinctive the ordinary T. This letter is recognized as the equivalent of the H, featuring exclusively as a feminine singular suffix. There is also the Y pronounced as a vowel A, which again features exclusively as a feminine suffix. The phonetic value of the classical Arabic consonants and semi-vowels is known. So are the variant phonetic values of the same consonants and semi-vowels in the living forms of dialectical Arabic, against which the classic vocalization can be checked. Let me tell you something off the top of my head before I go into this. Let me find it first. You have to understand something, right? There is. And the so-called Jews came and tried to get some incense up in here, man. Ashay. When the so-called Jews, the converts, tried to re-establish our Afro-Asiatic language, I think it's between the 4th and the 7th or the 8th century BC. I think probably BC or AD, one of them. What they did when they came back from the Babylonian captivity, they went to Aramaic. That was what was speaking at the time. Why don't we talk about the Aramaic Bible or the Syriac? Now let's get into world history now. You think it's a hoax that the so-called Jews are using their military might to bomb a lot of those areas? A lot of those are our people, but we got confusion of face. They keep bombing the eastern places. It's not just for all. They keep cordoning off Arabia, Iraq, Syria, which they have a Syriac Torah. Why do they do that? Because they don't want you to find out certain things. The so-called white Jews are scared to death The Israelite homeland was never Palestine. That was the next land. After all the persecutions, they migrated. That's why the Moors are probably the closest to the truth. But even they don't know World One. I'll get into the fallen angels and the Canaanites another time. But yes, we're talking about a Cushite Arabian people. And so from Ethiopia, that culture spread to Central and to West Africa. Simple things, man. So getting back to the language, why the Jews, the so-called fake Jews, you had to use Aramaic. Stop and think about it. If they're coming back and they look totally different from the original people, they're not hearing the original Hebrew that was spoke. So you know what they have to do? Go to Aramaic and resonate with the Semitic tribes that are around that area. What are the Semitic tribes that are around that area that are still got the same live languages? Aramaic, Arabic. Arabic comes from Syriac. So why the hell are we going to the fucking Greek Septuagint? The East always has the truth. Always. They tricked us with the Greek Septuagint. There was no motherfucking slavery in Egypt. Let me find something. Yo, I got something for you, man. I've got something for you. Let me find it quickly before my phone cuts out. This is game over for all the doctrines, man. This is game over right about now. Right? I'm gonna stretch and read this. The Israelite homeland is Arabia and Northeast Africa. All you gotta do is go in Genesis, is it 15, and look at the promises. Why the hell are flipping people getting into this Aboriginal Hebrew crap? If anything, the only stories that correlate to that is the giants. That's it. While I let that load, I'm going to read some more. Right. As my argument rests almost entirely upon the assumption that the Hebrew Bible has been consistently mistranslated, a word of justification is clearly in order. Briefly, as I explain more fully in chapter 2, the Hebrew language passed out of common usage around the 5th or 6th century BC. Therefore, in order to understand the Hebrew Bible, as I just said, we must either accept the traditional Jewish interpretation of its text or seek guidance from closely related Semitic languages. Why don't we go there? We still got this thing where we want to go to the so-called white man all the time. No, the languages are still there, which are still alive today, such as Arabic and Syriac, the latter being a surviving form of ancient Aramaic. I reject the former course in favor of the latter because the Jewish scholars, remember we ain't talking about our people now, who interpreted and vocalized the Hebrew Bible between the 6th and 10th centuries AD, did not know Hebrew as a spoken language and presumably based their reconstruction of it on informed guesswork. To follow the latter course, however, and attempt to redecipher the Hebrew Bible afresh, one must do so in the light of the comparative phonology and morphology of the Semitic languages. Now listen to this. This is how you know it's us. The Semitic or Shemitic languages are generally regarded as belonging to a larger family of Afro-Asian languages, which include ancient Egyptian. Are you hearing that, cashews? You can't come against Kemet. I understand if you're coming against Kemet in terms of the shit when they went off with the fallen angels, but you can't really come against them because that's a part of the promised land, Northeast Africa, and modern Berber and Hausa, the Semitic branch of these languages. There we go. cut after cut. I've got so much, it's ridiculous. Da 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 da. You know what? I might just leave this for part 2. I might just leave this to part 2, family. But there it is. The Bible came from Arabia. Even if you look at the tribes, even if you look at when Isaac went to Rebecca, let's look at just some basic things. She had a veil on her head. She came off the camel. The camel. Now you got some of these butlerites talking about camels in South America. You lot are desperate. Can you find camels, frankincense, myrrh, spice, all of that in fucking America, added with the fact that you've got the oldest Torahs, Ethiopian Torah, Yemenite Torah? Show me a motherfucking old 500-year-old Torah in Brazil. Stop it, man. Stop it. That lie is over. It was a pipe dream. That's all it is. You want it to be Peru. Zion is in flipping Arabia. I can get that for you as well. Don't watch that, man. Yahweh, it says in the Bible. Let me get some more scriptures. Yahweh came from Edom, Arabia, Teman. You know where Teman is? Teman is fucking Yemen. How the hell are you going from Yemen all the way to Palestine or to Peru? It's right there. It's right there. You got people called the Temani Jews. The Temani Jews are Yemenites. Basic. Chronicles. Let's go to when so-called Suleiman met Sheba, which is a queen out of Yemen, Kush. And by the way, Kush was on both sides. The empire of Kush was in Arabia and Ethiopia. Watch this. Moshe married Zipporah. Wasn't that Jethro's daughter? Huh? They called her an Ethiopian woman. Remember? They called her an Ethiopian woman, yet they were in the land of Midian, which is Arabia. That's game over right there. That's game over right there. So Kushites control both sides of the waters. It says the Red Sea in the fucking Bible. Why are you people flying all the way across the world? It's right there. Get some geography. Oh, and next thing again. Most of the places you see in Arabia, I've got El or Al as a prefix. Still there today. If you look in the Bible, you've got El Shaddai, El Roy. Come on, man. Let's read. And when the Queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon, she came to prove Solomon with hard questions at Jerusalem. I've just told you where Jerusalem is. With a great company and camels, that's one, that bear spices and gold in abundance, precious stones. When she came to Solomon, she communed to him with all her heart. Da 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 da. We know what happened after all of that crap. You know? Right. Let's skip down. And the king made of the algum trees terraces to the house of the Lord and to the king's palace, and harps and psalteries and singers. And there were none such before in the land of Yehudah. And King Solomon gave to the Queen of Sheba all her desire, whatever so she asked, besides that which she brought to the king. So she went away to her own land, she and her servants. Now the weight of gold that came to Solomon in 1 year was 660 talents of gold. That was the transaction to the king, fictional or not. Watch the concept now. Watch the context. I'm going to read it again. Now the weight of gold that came to Solomon in 1 year was 666 talents of gold. Besides that, chapter 14, besides that which chapmen and merchants brought, and all the kings of Arabia, and the governors of the country brought gold and silver to Solomon. Game over. Prepare for part 2. Alliance salute.